Hello, everyone, and welcome to another awesome episode of Relationship Advice for Women. And we are currently doing this segment called The Other Woman. Today we have Miss P. I mean, you can say your real name if you want to, but we just gonna go by Miss P today, telling her testimony. Um, if you want to introduce yourself, you can. If you want to just get straight into it, we can do that as well.
We can get straight into it. Maybe
Okay,
that'll introduce myself along the way.
that's good. That's good. Okay, so we can do that. So, the first thing I want to know is, are you involved in this situation now, or is it gone? Like,
I am still involved in this situation now. However,
uh-huh.
I better no longer be the other woman.
Okay, got
Yeah.
you. Okay, so we're gonna start with the first set of questions. And how did you meet the man that you were involved with?
We met in 2017. I was out with a cousin of mine, and we went downtown Atlanta
Mhm,
to Escobar.
mhm.
And he approached me. At the time, I was married,
Okay.
and at the time, he was
Beautiful.
married.
And this was in
and
2018,
17.
2017.
And he approached me, asked me for my number, and maybe like a week went by, and he never texted me, he never called me. So I texted him, and I was like, "Why'd you ask me for my phone number if you were never gonna use it?" And then we kind of went from there and started talking, and then we kind of unloaded on each other that we were both in situations.
Okay. So y'all were both in situations. Were you in a good marriage when you met him? Was he in a good marriage when he met you?
So we were both in. For myself, it wasn't a healthy marriage. It was kind of a. I've always been a little bit of a rebel all my life, like all my life, and my marriage came about from everyone telling me not to do it. So they said, "Don't
Mhm.
marry this man, don't marry this man, don't marry this man." I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it anyway, just to prove you all wrong. And we did it. And at the time I was pregnant, I found out I was pregnant.
Mhm.
And me in that situation, I lost that baby. And in that situation, it just
Mhm.
became a mess and mess and a half. So we were both in unhappy spaces, but we just had moved to Georgia together. So we just didn't quite give up on each other yet. At that
Okay.
point in time, we were just trying to just figure it out, make it work. But it was kind of like a dead space. As far as him,
Mhm.
you can only speak so much about what you know or what they told you. So as far as him, it was kind of like they're together, but one other person is kind of, I guess, like not happy or unhappy in the
Okay.
situation. So,
Okay. So you talking about as far as him?
hmm
Um, Obviously his name doesn't really matter,
hmm
but so the guy who you have been involved with, when he was married, is he still married?
he's no longer married.
Okay, so he was happy in that situation or not really happy? Is that what he was saying?
Based off of what he told me, he was not happy in the situation.
Okay, and what year
So
did
again,
you?
like you can only go based off of what. Well, I can only go based off what he told me. I've
Exactly.
never really had her side of. Well, we've talked, but yeah. So from his point of view, he wasn't happy.
Okay. Um, so yeah, this is the next question. Did you know he was in a relationship or married when you first met? If not, when did you find out? So, but you did know he was in a
So when
relationship.
we first met, the first encounter, we did not disclose that information to each other. We
Okay.
did not. I did not tell him I was married. He did not tell me he was married. Um, we just had casual conversation, and it was kind of just like you could tell for both of us. It was kind of that thing to where we're just going out one night, and he trying to see if he still got it. I'm trying to see if I still got it. It wasn't supposed to go anywhere at all. And when I
Okay.
did reach out to him that following week, and we did disclose that information, we both kind of established like, all right, cool. We're just gonna be cordial. We'll be friends. We'll be
Okay.
yeah.
And yeah, so what were making you seek something else? Like, was it
Just
because
lack of companionship at home. Like I didn't have that companionship. I didn't have that friendship with my husband at the time. We weren't talking how we should have been talking. And just having that, I guess, connection with somebody to be able to reach out to, somebody's asking like, how's your day going? Or how are you
right?
feeling? Or something like that. So
Yeah. And so what year did you get married to your previous husband?
2016.
Oh wow. So you met this man like just a year later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you still married?
No.
Okay. When did you get a divorce?
2023, last year.
Okay. And so y'all didn't have any children.
We have one child
We
together.
all do have children.
Yeah, one child together. After I met this individual.
Oh, after
See,
you
the
met.
situation just it sounds so messy so far, but yeah. Yes.
No, I mean it's your story, so it
Yeah.
is what it is. And
Mhm.
so, um, my question is, so you got pregnant while you were already dating this other man?
So I wouldn't consider it dating because we did not date during that time. So, um, all right, backstory.
Mhm,
We met March of 2017.
mhm,
Me and my ex-husband at the time, we had a trip planned to go to Vegas for Memorial Weekend. Went to Vegas, tried to rekindle some stuff, and thought that, hey, maybe this will work. What happens to Vegas does not stay in Vegas because I came home pregnant.
mhm,
so And so at the time, me and my partner now, we were not intimate at all. Like we were
mhm.
just having all casual conversation. We may have
Okay,
met up a couple times and had lunch, but we were never intimate during that process, like at all. We were not intimate for the very first 2 years of us being friends. So
okay, so
I
y'all
had
were just like friends the
we
first
were
2 years.
really, really good friends. Yeah, we built like a really strong friendship. So it was like if he had some issues going on, we'll talk. If I had some issues going on, we'll talk. We just built a really, really good friendship at that time.
Okay, all right. And then when did he get divorced from his wife?
2022.
Okay, so he got divorced first.
Mhm.
Was it going to be like a we get divorced and we're going to get together type thing?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. So I was gonna wait to see if that was one of the questions, but yeah. So
Yeah.
moving forward, I had my son. We were to me and my husband decided we were just it was just really rough, like it's super super rough. Um, we stopped being intimate. We stopped really being together. We was just kind of like cohabitants in the same household.
Mhm.
And so at that time, me and my partner did become, intimate, and we had called it quits plenty of times because it was many days where it was, I'm gonna go make my marriage work. I'm gonna go make my marriage work. We should, try to see where this goes elsewhere because it's not right. It wasn't right at
Mhm.
all. We're both married. We're in this situation. It shouldn't be. And so, 2019, the end of 2019, I got pregnant by my now partner. And
Oh.
yeah. And we lost that child.
Mm.
And it was a really, really tough process because being that I'm married, he's married, we couldn't be there for each other emotionally how we wanted to be there for emotionally.
Yeah.
So that put a strain on our friendship and the relationship that we did have. And so we stopped and we disconnected for a while. And a couple months later, we reconnected again and continue to try to work through some stuff and be friends again. And then, of course, it ended up going back to us dealing with each other. 2021, got pregnant again. And so at this point in time, he ended up coming clean and he ended up telling his ex-wife now that something happened. I don't even remember. I can't even tell you exactly what happened in the situation, but I just remember one night him calling me and texting me, just basically telling me like I just told her everything. I told her everything that's going on. He
Mhm,
told her that I was pregnant at the time and that he wanted
mhm,
to proceed and move forward in our situation.
mhm,
So at that time, it was kind of like, oh, okay, so we didn't discuss this. Like, we didn't talk about this happening. We
mhm.
had placed other options out on the table, between abortion and just me going on about my business and doing what I have to do for the sake of my own child and just moving forward. But then we started talking and it was a messy,
What?
messy
What
process.
we're talking and then what?
We just talked about it. We just talked about what it looked like what it would look like for us to be together. Because he had a wife, he had kids. I had a husband, I
How
had a
many
child.
children does he have?
He has 3.
Okay, 3, and by that same woman?
Hmm.
That's okay. And so how was his ex-wife's response when she found out?
As any woman, she was hurt. And it was many days where I would tell him, like, I'm like, you have to allow her to work through that hurt because we didn't expect it to go to this far. We didn't expect for this to happen. We didn't expect for us to be together. And I will never take away from her hurt at all whatsoever because I'm a woman as well. And I spoke to her and it was a lot of back and forth at first because she didn't want to talk to me. She didn't want to communicate with me. She didn't want her kids around me, all of that. So we went through that whole process and I would tell him that, well, eventually we're going to have to, kind of talk. And if we're going to talk, we're talking about being together and proceeding forward and building a life together. We're going to have to, I'm not trying to rush it right now because it's so fresh, but we're going to have to eventually get to that point. And then she mutually agreed one day. And so when we did first speak, of course, it was more so attack on
Yeah.
me, and which is fine. I received it because I am I'm in the party where I'm that fault. So,
Yeah.
in the beginning, it was a lot of, well, he still wants to be with me. He's still trying to do this, and this is what she's telling me. He still wants to try to, build his family here and X, Y, Z. So basically, tried to say it's kind of like, okay, well, he's playing both sides, and he's still playing the field over here. And I'm like, okay, well, if this is what you allow, then this is what you
Right. Yeah.
allow. I mean,
Mhm.
all I
Yeah.
can do is deal with it as it comes on my end. I already knew the consequences and what was going to come behind being with this, this man and in this situation. So,
Oh.
and she said a lot of hurtful stuff. And then, of course, I was still freshly pregnant at the time. And so it would be days where I was getting like fake messages on Instagram. One message I'll never forget was basically wishing that my baby died. And another message, it was just a lot of stuff. Just he's always gonna come back home. I'm always be number one. I was his wife. I have his kids. I have this. I have that. So it was a lot of that for a
Mhm.
long time, and then eventually just stopped because it was always denied that it was never her. She always
Oh,
said it was never her. So of course I can't prove it. I'm not the type of person where I'm gonna peek at her about it. So I was just like, all right, if you said it's not you, it's not you. But I
yeah.
had a lot of anger built up at that point because shortly
Right.
after we found out we were having a little girl, and I ended up losing that baby.
How did you
Um,
lose her?
so we didn't. Well, I won't even say we. She had a birth defect that she was going to have at birth, so we had to make a decision as to if we were going to terminate the pregnancy or proceed with the pregnancy. We decided to terminate the pregnancy at that time.
Mm.
So yeah, that was really really tough. So that's where a lot of my resentment towards her came in. It was like, yeah, I'm angry at you. You angry at me because I'm with this person now, but I'm angry at you because I know the things that's been said to me, and yeah, now I'm just
And so when they talked about the birth defect, like how many months were you pregnant when you found?
3 months at that time.
3 months,
Mhm.
and they actually. Do you regret doing that?
I do 100%.
I honestly think they should be at fault for even telling you to do that because
Mm-hmm.
if it's a birth defect, it's your baby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
It's something
sorry.
that we deal with. Yeah, it's something we deal
Yeah,
with. On
I just thought.
a
I mean, even though we're bringing this up, like
Mm.
they have anyway.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
whole nother
I'm sorry.
topic.
That's a whole nother
That was a
topic.
whole nother process of dealing with
That's
that.
a whole
So
nother topic. And so you got pregnant again after this by him?
No, we haven't had
Okay.
to bring it to you, sister.
Okay.
So
And
yeah.
would you get, if even if your child was to have a birth defect, would you still continue on?
Yeah, more most
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry that they pressured you. I bet you were pressured to do
Yeah, it
that.
was a lot of pressure, and for me and him both, it was a very, very tough process. Trying to I'm sorry, trying to
You fine?
decide if we were gonna actually do it. And
Wow.
it was really tough.
I'm so sorry that happened. That's a lot. So even after the pregnancy was terminated or whatever, how did that affect his marriage at that time?
So during that process, she had already filed for divorce during that time because he kind
Okay.
of had made his decision that um this situation was where he was going to be and this is what he was going to pursue. This is what he was going to do. So they had already filed for their divorce proceedings.
Okay. And then so was she in agreement with the divorce? Like
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't feeling pressured to get divorced.
No,
Okay.
they in the
And
beginning her idea
okay.
because I think on his side it was also that they had been married for a while, so it's kind of also kind of like, do I really want to do this as well? And it was kind of the same
Mhm.
thing for me and my marriage. Like, do we really want to just break up our families to try to go be together?
Right.
So,
Was you, and so we talked a lot about him and his,
mhm.
but what about your husband? What was the day-to-day life that made it so rough between you and your ex-husband?
So we had a really big age gap. We had a 12-year age gap. So
Yeah.
I believe in our marriage, he thought that he was getting with someone who was younger, he could control, he could tell what to do and all of that. And when he got with me, it wasn't what he thought it was going to be. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of verbal abuse. And I tell people this all the time, like, domestic violence is not always physical. So
Right. It's not.
yeah,
It is
don't
not.
anybody tell you like just because this person's not putting their hands on you, you're not in a domestic situation. Because I was. He was very rude. It was a lot of cursing me out. It was a lot of degrading. It was a lot of that on a day-to-day basis if he didn't get his way. And it just became too much. I couldn't do it. And um I'm a very emotional being. I cry a lot. I cry about everything.
Mhm.
That's just my
Mhm.
way of releasing. And what really
Mhm.
broke the camel's back for me was my son went to school one day and he told his teacher, and me and his teacher had a really, really good relationship, like, because I'm very hands-on with my child. And he told his teacher that his dad punched me in the face. And at 3 years old, all he can, decipher is that if a person is crying, someone, caused some type of physical harm onto them. And that's
Mhm.
all he knew. His dad had never hit me a day in my life,
Oh
never put his
wow.
hands on me. But
Mhm.
all he could see was his mama crying. His mama's in another room, like very upset, and she's crying. She's hurt. She's hurt. And so the teacher called me right away. And she was like, he came home. I mean, he came to school and he told me this is what happened, and I have to report this to defects. I have to, do what I have to do here. And so at that point it was just like I can't do it anymore. Like I tried to stay to try to keep my family together for the sake of my child because I didn't at one point want to be another statistic. And I was
Right.
worried,
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, this ain't, something I want to do. But at that point in time it was like I'd rather my child be healthy and happy someplace else versus than him coming home every day dealing with it. So that's kind of where that was. That was
Yeah.
a day for me. So I just couldn't take it anymore. And I left. I went and got my own place. He had my partner now had his own place. And yeah, that's what
Right.
that was.
So your ex-husband, was he upset about you leaving him?
I'm very upset. Very, very upset. It was to one point where he couldn't know where we lived because you never know what type of reaction you're gonna get out of a person. So it was kind of like we had to kind of just keep it just literally about our child. Like we couldn't have any outside conversation. I couldn't go to his house to meet him to get my baby. He couldn't come over to my house to get my child. Like it was like, all right, how are we gonna go about this? What are we gonna do? So he was very
Right.
upset. Very,
Okay.
very
And so that did he ever find out, or was he in another relationship as well? Or
there was a couple times I caught him dealing and doing some stuff.
okay.
And yeah, but yeah, He found out. He
So
found
yeah,
out. He never found out that what was going on during the
okay. He never found out that you had other relations during your
right,
marriage, but he found
right.
out afterwards. But during your marriage, you're saying he also had other relations?
Yeah, because at that point in time we weren't intimate at all. Like
Okay.
we stopped being intimate together. So I'm like, okay, you're human. I know you got needs, so I'm pretty sure you're getting it from somewhere. So
And did you care?
I didn't. I didn't at
Okay.
all.
And so you don't feel like you were even in love with him at a certain point?
We had that conversation and before where we did express that we were not in love. Well, I was not in love with him anymore. And I told him that I don't feel like you were in love with me. You were more so in love with the idea that you have a wife, you have a child, and you have what everybody
Yeah.
wants to have one day. And so that's just really what it was.
And did he
Like
have
we
any
weren't
other
compatible at
children?
all. We no other kids. No, my son is his
Okay.
only child.
Okay.
And we just weren't compatible. Like we had no type of chemistry. We couldn't laugh together. We couldn't talk, like sit and watch a movie. We couldn't do anything together. It was like nothing there. It was just literally you go to work, I go to work, we come home, go to sleep, wake up, do the next day.
So how did you all meet then?
I was his other woman.
Okay, so you were the other one with him as well?
I was.
Oh Lord. So we
Yeah.
gotta talk about both situations then.
So now I'm about to get off work. Sorry.
Y'all together right now?
We are together now.
Oh. Okay. Well, tell me what you can.
So he was my brother-in-law's best friend, my sister's husband's best friend.
He was your sister's husband.
His best friend.
Best friend. Okay.
So
you
I would
cookouts.
all the time, every party, and that's literally how we hooked up. The very first hookup, we had a party, and he was always around, and he had a person, but that situation, it was kind of like we're from back home where I'm from. It was kind of like everybody kind of just figured like they were together, but it was like they weren't really together because he was always doing his own separate thing. She was doing her separate thing, and it was like a well-known thing. And so I was young, really, really young, 21. And we had a party one night. My sisters had a party. I'm sorry, I thought someone heard somebody at my door. My sister had a party one night, and I had just got out of a relationship. I was going through a heartbreak. And I told myself, I was like, I never really had a hoe phase. Like I lost my virginity at 18. And then I'm in this relationship until I'm 20, 21 years old. I never really went through a hoe phase. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a hoe phase. And I'm gonna have a one night stand. I never had a one night stand. I'm gonna do it. And so that particular night was supposed to be a one night stand. It was supposed to be a one and done. And the next morning he woke up and he was like, "You good? You need anything?" And then right away I was like, "I don't like this feeling. I feel like a hoe." Like, excuse my language, but I was like, "I don't like this feeling." Cause he like, "You need anything?" And it made me feel like a prostitute, like you were trying to give me some money or something up out of that. And I was like, like, what? And so he pulled some slick stuff and he was kind of like, "Let me see your phone. I can't find my phone." He called my phone. I mean, called his phone from my phone. And then he left. He called back and he was like, "I got you some breakfast. I'm outside. And we're going to Miami this weekend." And I was like, okay. All right, cool. So, and at first I called my friends. I'm like, "This just happened. He's trying to take me to Miami for the weekend. I don't know, XYZ." And boom. It just went from there. Literally.
So what did you like about him?
I don't know. It just felt good. And I'm not gonna lie to you. The sex was great. Like the sex was really, really great. And it was something about just. And this is something that I had to learn in this situation now. It was something about being lonely, and I had to learn the difference between being alone and being lonely.
Yeah.
And in that point in time, I felt like I was alone. Like it was like, all right, I had just got out of this relationship. I'm so used to being with a man every day. I didn't know myself. I didn't know my identity. I didn't know who I was. And so I clung to that. I clung to the fact that he was making me feel good. Like every other day. And this is why I'm telling people would tell me like, "Oh, you know, he had a girlfriend, you know, this and the third." And I'm like, yeah, but literally we stayed 2 hours away from each other. And it was like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we was together. He would leave my house on Monday morning and drive 2 hours, go to work and be to work by 6 o'clock. Then go home Monday, Tuesday. After he get off work, he was back at my house. We was doing it like, we was seeing each other like all the time. So I was kind of like, So the girlfriend at the time, it was like she knew there was somebody. She knew there was something. She just didn't know who it was.
Okay. So he
And
wasn't
then
married. He just
no,
had
he wasn't married. That was his girlfriend. They were
okay.
supposedly engaged.
Mm-hmm.
They were supposedly engaged. He told me that he called off the engagement. She said that he never called off the engagement. I to this day will never know.
Yeah.
And so somebody was at my door. I'm like, okay, I'm just somebody at my door. It was a package.
Okay, I got you.
So he we eventually I just got tired of being the other woman with him. It was just kind of like, I don't like this.
How long were you the other woman with him?
About 6 months.
Okay, 6 months.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't like this feeling. I don't like feeling like I'm competing or whatever. She called my phone one day, and that's how she found out. He went to sleep, and she went through his phone. She called me, and I answered. And she and at the time, I ain't gonna lie, I thought I was in love. Like, I really thought I was in love with this man. I was like, oh, he's treating me so well. He's giving me the attention that I need, the time that I need. I love him. And so she called and she was like, Portia, you don't gotta hide no more. Oh, sorry, I said my name. She was like, Portia, you don't gotta hide no more. I know, just go ahead and just be real with me. And she was like, you know, he had a girlfriend. Why didn't you? Can we pause this? Because I just got my notification from.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And Portia, be real. That's what she was saying. Be real with me.
Oh yeah, she was like, just be real. Just let me know what's going on. And I'm always the type of person where I feel like I'm the type of person, if you confront me and I done something wrong, I'm gonna be real about whatever it is that I gotta be real with you about. I'm caught. I might as well go ahead and tell the truth and say what I gotta say. And so I've always felt that if anybody approached you with anything, they've mustered up the courage and the energy and the strength to come to you and get whatever answers they're looking for. So at that point, when she called me, I hung up the phone. I was like, I'm not going to answer the phone. I called my sister. I'm like, all right, y'all, she done found out. How should I go about this? And my sister was like, just tell her. If she called back, just tell the truth. And I was like, you're right. That's what I'm going to do. So she called back and I answered. And she was like, so how long this been going on? I told her. And she was like, but you knew he had somebody. And I was like, yeah. I said, but you got to be honest with yourself as well. Like, you knew that there had to be somebody as well. Because it's kind of like, y'all are not really what I would think a relationship is. Like, she was like, well, we were still having sex, X, Y, Z. I was like, okay, well, he never came to me with that. So it's like, all right, cool. I don't know what else I can do at this point. But tell you what it is. And so she was like, well, how do you fall in love with somebody else's man? I was like, kind of the same way you fell in love with him. The same time he was giving you, the same energy he was giving you, he was giving me. And it just happened to fall that way. And she didn't like that response too well.
Yeah.
So she's like, when I see you, I'm going to beat you up, this and the third, And I'm like, all right, cool. So mind you, when I told you we first moved to Georgia, I was pregnant. We had lost the baby. And that's how I ended up going out. I don't know if I said that, but that's when I ended up meeting my partner now. We were pregnant.
So you lost the baby with this man and
my ex-husband.
Okay, so your ex-husband you lost. And so, like, what made you not care? Was it like you were attracted to him despite knowing his situation?
Who?
Like
my ex-husband?
Yes, your ex-husband. Look
out. I cared. I did care. And it was plenty of days where I told him the same thing. It's kind of like, I'm a woman still, like, regardless of what. And granted, this feels good to me, like, to have somebody here with me, to be with someone, and lay with somebody, and whatever case may be, it feels really good. But I know it's not right. And if this was done to me, I don't know how I'll respond. I don't know how I'll react. I don't think this would be, something that I could, deal with. So it was plenty of days where I ended the situation with him. And granted, September of 2016, I made a decision to leave. I said I wasn't gonna deal with it no more. I didn't want to be with him anymore.
That was that was when y'all was married. No, because y'all
we got married in October of 2016.
Okay.
So it happened fast. Like I tell you, it happened really, really fast.
So you and your ex-husband got married October 2016. And how long were y'all? How old are you now?
I'm 30.
Really? Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to understand the timeline.
Yeah. Okay. Happened fast. And so literally it started in March of 2016. October 2016 we was married. But
it started in March. You was
My
married in October.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to keep the
Yeah.
timeline
And
going.
so
Okay.
August of 2016, I called it off with him. I told him I didn't want nothing to do with him. I found out I knew I was pregnant. His family put me through the
Mm-hmm.
ringer. The girl, of course, they were so fond of her because him and her had been together. She knew his family, XYZ. So his family put me through the ringer. They were kind of like, "Oh, you not pregnant? You lying about being pregnant? You trying to get this man?" I'm like, "We cool and all, but I ain't
Mm-hmm.
never about to go that far to keep no man. Like it ain't
Right.
that deep." And so I never forget that morning. I went to the health department just to get my proof of pregnancy because I needed to go ahead and start getting like my weekend stuff, and I was trying to get like benefits and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let me go ahead and get my proof of pregnancy from the health department. I get to the doctor. His sister comes to the doctor. Like she pulls up to the doctor and I see her walking in and I'm walking in. And she was like, he's at work. He asked me to come to your appointment with you. And I'm like, all right, cool. I ain't tripping. Like, so they do my urinalysis or whatever, comes back that I'm pregnant. And she's like, oh, you really pregnant? And I'm like, oh, so you came here just to make sure that I was pregnant. Like, you ain't come just because he asked you to come. You came to prove something. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so went from there. Um, go home. He came to town that night and he was like, I really want to see you. I really want to talk to you. Is that possible? I was like, I told him no at first. And I was just at home. Then I just hear somebody knocking at my door. Just knocking at the door, and I go to the door and I'm like, what are you doing at my house? And we just start talking. Literally he came in the house for maybe 5 minutes because I told you I had already made up my mind that I wasn't with it. I didn't want to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were talking and he was like, are you hungry? You want to go get something to eat? And I was like, I'm about to go anyway. And I left. I was leaving out the door to go to my sister's house. And next thing you know, I just see this car pull up like real fast, like, and it just hop on, like push on the brakes real hard. And she jump out the car and she like, oh, this was the day we supposed to get married and this and that. You over here with her. And I'm like, it really ain't what you think it is. Like, it's not that. And so we get into this altercation. And the whole time we like tussling, all I hear is, I'm gonna kill that baby. I'm gonna kill that baby. I'm gonna kill that baby.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh gosh. So now I got to go through this process. They get into it. They fussing and fighting. And she like, oh, so you choosing her over me? And it was just that. I don't know. I don't really remember how it happened, like how fast it happened. But it happened really fast.
Y'all were having an altercation. Y'all were fighting.
We were fighting. Yeah, we were actually fighting. Yeah.
And is that how you lost the baby?
No.
Okay.
I know, because I was still pregnant. We ended up going to the hospital that night, getting an ultrasound done. Everything was fine. She told me everything was fine, just to proceed forward with how I was proceeding forward. And after that, I knew I was really done with him. I was like, I don't want to be with you no more. September 1st, I quit my job. I was just like, I don't want to be here no more. I'm going to Georgia. My sister's dad had lived here. And so he always told me, like, whenever you want to relocate, just come. So I literally quit my job one day and packed the bag. And I'm like, I'm going to Georgia. And so I saw his brother at the gas station, ironically. And he was like, where you going? And we were just talking. I was like, I'm about to leave. And I was like, I didn't tell him I was leaving, going to Georgia. I was like, I'm about to leave because I already knew he was going to call his brother. I'm just about to leave. And, I got to get away for a while. And he was like, have you talked to, I'm like, no. And so I'm leaving. I'm getting on the highway, about to go ahead and pull off. He called me like, where you at? Like, where you going? And I'm talking, I'm like, why are you calling me? Like, I know you only calling me because your brother told you XYZ and blah, 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 blah. And he was like, just come meet me and just come get some money for me. And, you're going to go about your business, go about your business. Somehow or another, he told her he was coming to meet me. Because she called my phone maybe 20 minutes later. And she was like, what y'all meeting for? Y'all just seen each other and y'all just blah, 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 blah. He said he didn't want nothing else to do with you. And now he's saying that he got to go meet you. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, take that over him. And so he called me back like 3 minutes later. He was like, I'm about to ditch this phone. Just meet me at my grandma's house. And whatever case, because at this point in time, she was tracking his phone or whatever. And so I was like, you got too much on him.
She was the same age as him?
A little younger. He got a thing for younger women. Yeah. And so didn't even meet him at his grandma's house, met him someplace else. And literally he got in my car. He left his car at his grandma's house and we left and came to Georgia. And so at that point in time, in my head, I'm just so dumb and gullible. I'm like, oh, he loves me. He came here with the clothes on his back. We're about to go have our happily ever after. No. That was just the beginning of hell.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so September came around, we was staying at my sister's dad's house, and we was laying down one day, and he was kind of just like, I want to be with you. And he's like, I called your mom and I asked her, could I marry you? I don't know what conversation went on, because my mama said she never said
You done made that up.
yeah. Yeah. And so he was like, let's get married. And I was like, let me think on it. I'd never give him an answer right away. He was like, let's get married. And I was like, all right. The very next day, he asked again. He was like, are we going to do it? We're going to get married. And I was like, yeah, let's just do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. I did not know that we were going to get married 2 weeks later. And so I called my family and I'm like, I love him. I'm going to do it. I'm pregnant. I might as well just go ahead. I always said that I didn't want to have a baby and not be, be married. And I'm going to just do it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. And so everybody told me, don't do it. His best friend told me, don't do it. Like, it's like, he's mean. He saw mean to that girl. Like, he just curses a lot. He's disrespectful. Don't do it. And I was like, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. People change for who they want to change for. That was my answer for it. And we came down to, went to our hometown, and we went to go ahead and get married. And I feel like there were so many signs to not do it. Like, when we went to go to the courthouse to go get our marriage certificate, the lady was like, it's going to take 2 to 3 days for y'all to get this marriage certificate. And I'm like, oh, we got to get back to Atlanta because I got to go to work. So we can't just, whatever. So she was like, okay, well, since y'all live there, I'm going to just take this home and y'all can just come pick it up from my house and get it out the mailbox. So I was like, okay, so it's a sign for us to do it. So I just thought, like, okay, everything was aligning. That morning, my sister's car wouldn't start. Then, so it starts. And so I'm talking to him and I'm like, you're not going to tell none of your family we get married? Like, you're not going to invite them to the little ceremony we're about to do? And he was like, no. He was like, I'm not. He said, because they're going to try to talk me out of it. And I don't want them to talk me out of it. And I'm sorry. And he was like, I don't want them to try to talk me out of it. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to tell them. So I was like, okay. All right. So come back to Georgia that night. We didn't even consummate our marriage. It was kind of just like,
okay.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, we're back here, go to sleep, gotta go to work in the morning. Next morning, I get a phone call from his mama. She was like, did you and him get married over the weekend and XYZ? And I was like, yeah, we did. And I said, he told y'all, and y'all didn't want to come. And she was like, he didn't tell us anything. Like, he never told us that y'all were doing this. Like, that's just crazy to me that my son is my child is getting married, and he got married and I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, well, you got to kind of take that up with him. Like, yeah. And so a couple weeks later go by, I'm literally at work one day. I said, what is that? I keep hearing stuff. And so that's my ice maker. Okay. And so literally at work one day at my desk, and I get up and my stomach was hurt. Mind you, I'm pregnant, so my stomach is hurting really, really bad. And so sorry, that's my therapist. But at work, got up, go to the bathroom because I'm just like, just something don't feel right. As I'm getting up, walking, I had on some khaki pants, and my coworker, she's like, Portia, you bleeding? And I'm like, what you mean? And she's like, you bleeding? Like, your whole pants is covered with blood. And so my supervisor came over. She was like, we got to take you to the hospital, because they knew I was pregnant. So they took me to the hospital, and I literally just had what they call a miscarriage, and I didn't know that I had a miscarriage. And what that is basically that my baby had died inside me, and I did not know. And my baby had been dead inside me for a couple of weeks, and I didn't know.
Wow.
So, yeah. And so had to go through that whole process. So this was strike one with that situation. I call him and I'm telling him, like, I'm at the hospital. I need you to get up here. They just told me that I lost the baby. And he was like, are you serious? And and he never came to the hospital. I had to call one of my friends to come to the hospital with me. She was at the hospital with me. I was in the hospital for 2 days, and she ended up taking me home. And he never came. And so she ended up taking me home, got me home. He was at work or whatever. And so he came back, and I didn't tell anybody I was pregnant. Like, I didn't tell anybody I lost the baby, but my family, because I didn't talk to his family, of course. So my family was like, we're coming into town for the weekend, just to be there with you through this or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So before his family could get there, before my family can get there, his sister came, the one who came to the clinic that day. And she popped up and, she came in the house and she like rubbed my stomach or whatever. And she was like, whatever. And so he went ahead and told her, he was like, she's not pregnant anymore. She lost the baby. And so literally that Sunday, she went back home. Monday morning, I woke up to messages and Facebook posts and all types of stuff saying how, one, I was never pregnant. So then he sent a picture of my paperwork to his family. So they was like, oh, so she was pregnant. She killed her baby. So mind you, I'm going through the stuff I'm going through. Yeah. So now they're just trying to say, okay, now you're not pregnant. He's like, no, she was pregnant. I'm seeing this and X, Y, Z. Now it's, oh no, she killed the baby. So now I'll go through like this whole nervous breakdown and this emotional breakdown. And so the very next week he left and he went to our hometown for the weekend. And mind you, I'm home by myself, just lost the baby, so distraught, so upset and heartbroken. I called him. It's a strike two for me. But I called him and this is so weird just talking about this out loud, but with other people besides my therapist and sharing this with other people. It's so crazy. But I called him and we were talking and he was like, I don't think I'm coming back. Like, mind you, we're married. And he was like, I don't think I'm coming back. I'm just gonna stay here. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm like, are you really saying this? I just really just went through what I just went through. And you telling me that you're not coming back. So I was hurt. I was really, really hurt. And I attempted to commit suicide. And that day I called my mama when I did it and I was like, I just don't feel right. Like this is what I did and I don't like the way that my body's feeling. Like I did it, yeah, and I need some help. So
what did you do?
I took a lot of pills. Took a lot of pills, yeah.
What kind of pills did you take?
Percocet. It was my pain pill, my pain medication, yeah. And so did that. My mom got in contact with my neighbor. They called the police, kicked my door down, really came in, got me out, took me to Southern Regional. I don't recommend anybody sending their dog there, but yeah, it took me to Southern. Yeah, they took me to Southern Regional. They had me under, I think it's called a 1013 down here or something like that. So they had me on the suicide watch, and they sent a psychiatrist in to talk to you about certain things. And so I think it was there. You had to be there 72 hours. If you're there 72 hours, they then send you out to like an asylum somewhere, like to like a house, a home, or a crazy house or whatever. And so the therapist came in or the psychiatrist came in and we were just talking. And he was like, you're not suicidal. He was like, you just depressed. Like I'm literally seeing, sitting here watching you saying that you need to go change yourself. Because mind you, I had just lost a baby. I'm still bleeding. Like I'm still going through the stuff. And these people here, they're not giving me like sanitary napkins. They're not giving me anything to, care for myself. And so he was like, I'm literally watching this. And he said, I know you're not suicidal. He said, you don't need to go to where these other people are going. You just really need some psychiatric help. Like, you need to speak to somebody like a therapist or counselor. He was like, you're not, whatever. So they called him and they're like, you're her husband. We can release her to you. We need you to come get her. This man did not come to get me out of the hospital. And then day 2, after they were really just about to go ahead and send me off, he shows up and he takes me to the house. And he just act like nothing happened. Like he didn't say anything that he said. Like he wasn't gonna come get me. Like he didn't act like nothing happened. So like years later, like after we done had my son and everything, and this is why I was like, okay, yeah, I'm just done. So when 2017 came around, it was kind of like when I met my partner now. That's the only reason why I kind of clung to him, is because I shared that with him and we talked, and he was kind of like my safe place, and made me feel like, just made me feel something other than what I was feeling before. And so years later, as time went by, my ex-husband would say stuff like, he would just say stuff to hurt me, because at that point in time I had started seeking counseling. Like my therapist, like I just told you, she texted me like, okay, we got therapy tomorrow, like same therapist. And so I started seeking counseling. I started learning who I was, my identity, things that I liked, who I was, just stuff like that. And a lot of that emotional stuff that I kind of had before, it diminished. Like I wasn't crying all the time. I wasn't sad. I wasn't heartbroken. So he would say stuff like, to really, really try to get me like, oh, I should have stayed with a girl or whatever. And then so one day he said something to me. He was like, I should have left you in the hospital. And so when he said that to me, that just broke me. And I was like, how could you say something to me like that? Like, you put me in that place, and you were the only person that could come in and make it right. And you sitting here saying that this is something that you should have did. And from there, I just never looked at him the same. It's like, I don't know. It was some other stuff that should have, along the lines, showed me that I should have never, looked at him differently, like little stuff. But that just kind of just made me just see him so differently. And so, yeah.
Did you ever ask him, why did you marry me? Did you ask him, what was your reason?
I did. He said that he loved me. He wanted to be with me. He could see a future with me. He loved the type of woman that I was. Yeah.
And then it just changed after you had the baby, and it never.
No, still to this day, he would tell anybody, he'd be like, "You're a great woman." Like he was. If I would go back and say I want to be with you, we would be together.
And so when you say, if I'm great, what is so great about me? Like,
I used to ask that all the time. Like, what makes me such a great woman? Why am I the woman that you can see yourself with? If your family said that I was a liar and I'm a baby killer, and he would say stuff like, "You're a whore," like he was very degrading stuff. I'm all of what you saying that I am.
Right.
Why do you see yourself want to be with a person like me? I will never get it. Like, I will never understand. And he'll never answer the question.
Ever. No, he don't answer it.
Ever. We even tried marriage counseling, and he could never answer the question in marriage counseling.
And so after he got you from the hospital, how was y'all's relationship?
It was different. It was just so different. Like, that's kind of where it was just kind of like, we don't talk no more. I go to work, you go to work, you come home. And then, like I said, that's when I met my partner. And then we already had a pre-planned trip to Vegas that May. And so that's kind of where it was kind of like, let's go to Vegas and XYZ. And we came back from Vegas in early June. We wasn't gonna try to rekindle anything. And then that maybe like the end of June, July, it was when I found out I was pregnant with my son. And in his mind, he was like, "Oh, this is God's way of telling us that we're supposed to be together." And I should have known that was some crazy mess too, because he's a big believer. He said he don't even believe in God. So when he said it, it's kind of like, what you mean God told you this? But
right,
it's a sign. You don't even believe in God. And so
apparently he do. He believes in him when he wants to.
Yeah, all right. Okay. God said you don't deny him to nobody. So okay.
Okay.
But so
I was just joking with you.
Yeah, I told him, and right after that, my partner now was the first person that I told that I was pregnant. I was like, "Bro, I'm pregnant," and he was like, "Oh, okay." So
it was with your ex-husband's child.
Yeah, my son now that I have. And so I told my now partner, because like I said, we were friends at the time. I was like, "I'm pregnant. You may not want to talk to me no more." And he was like, "Who said I don't want to talk to you no more? Like, we just friends, whatever the case may be." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So,
and so how did these two relationships impact your self-worth or your self-esteem?
So for a long time, even when me and my now partner got together, I had to sit back and say, why did I allow myself to go through this? Why did I allow myself to deal with a married man? Why did I allow myself to get in a relationship with a married man? What was it that I'm missing about, what am I seeking, what I'm looking for within for myself? And it stems a lot from childhood trauma. And it was a lot of seeking validation and needing people to validate me, and needing, like I said, not knowing the difference between being alone and being lonely, just needing something, wanting something, feeling something. So it was a lot of that I had to really dig into to see, like, why are you allowing this? Why is this something that's become a pattern for you? Like, because like I said, I've done it twice, like back to back. Why did you continue to do this? And not only this, you're not just hurting yourself by doing this, you're hurting other people. Like, you got to think about, like, you hurting these other women, you hurting these kids that are affected by this, the aftermath of what you guys are doing. So it took a lot of deep diving and understanding, or trying to understand rather. And there was a lot of stuff that I never came up with the answer. Like, I never, like, a lot of stuff I used to say, like, okay, so this happened, why? I'm like, I don't know, why did I allow that? So like I said, it took a lot of having to heal that childhood trauma that I have. It took a lot of, learning my self-worth, knowing who I am, and now knowing what I stand for and what I won't stand for. Like, in this relationship now, like, they always say, how you get them is how you lose them. How you get them is how you lose them. And I'm like,
yeah, that's what they say.
Hey, Yeah, and I always say, like, if it's a mistake, it's gonna be my mistake, and I'm big on that. I'm gonna learn from any mistake that I make, and I don't live life with no regrets at all. I
Mhm.
regret a lot of things that people feel like, or how they feel, or whatever case may be, but I did it, and I take accountability for everything
Yeah.
that I've done, and that's all I can do. And I told the ex-wife the same thing, like, I apologize from the bottom of my heart because I'm a woman, and I can only imagine if this was done to me. Like, this was not supposed to happen how it happened. He told her the same thing, like, we weren't supposed to get as far as we did, but it happened that way. And these were the cards that we picked. We didn't even, they weren't dealt. We picked them.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
and now we gotta just do what we gotta do from here. Um, at one point I even told her, like, told him too, like, maybe you should go try to make that work. Like, you got an opportunity to right your wrongs. We can
But she was
go about
still willing.
to do what? Deal with him? No, we both had kind of mutually decided, like, we weren't gonna, after we had made the decision to terminate that pregnancy, we decided that we weren't gonna try to be together. We should just go our own separate ways, because it was kind of like, is this a sign that we shouldn't be together? Is this
Yeah.
a sign that we shouldn't be making it work? Hold on, sorry. He had he had the grocery store.
Are you fine? I
Um,
apologize.
I don't know. But yeah, oh yeah, we decided we were gonna try to go our own separate ways, but we just decided to try to make it work again.
You
Every
were
day ain't been the best. And we both have trust issues, of course, because how
yeah.
things will come along the way. But for the most part, we just deal with it as it comes. We have a really good sense of communication. We talk about a
Mhm.
lot. We open about a lot of stuff. Some days I ain't feeling it. Some days he ain't feeling it. Some days we've even thought about saying, okay, let's try to go make those situations work before, and we just come in and we talk about it and go from there.
So you say make those situations work. Were you talking about make it work? Like he was going to try to
With
make it work
our
with his
yeah.
ex-wife, and
Mhm.
okay. And so I'm trying to back up just a little bit because we had to talk about two different situations.
Yeah.
And I just
Hold on. This is
okay,
my
no, you
job.
well, I just wanted to like ask about the person who you're with right now, because you said when we first started, you said, well, I better, it was about you being the other woman. Are you still in that situation with him?
Oh yeah.
And so is he dating someone else right now?
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay. So you were saying that you better be the only
Yeah, it was just
woman
a
right
joke. Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Okay, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So as soon as he got a divorce, like when were y'all exclusive? He got a divorce in 2022. You got one in 2023. When did y'all become exclusive?
At the time of their breakup. We were both broken up, so it's kind of, well, not broken up, but they were still married. I was still married. They were in separate households. We were in separate households, so we kind of
Okay.
just we dating at that point in time. Yeah.
Okay. And so your ex-husband was still trying to get you back even though he knew that you were exclusive with someone else, and he was still doing his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, what was the most painful part of you being the other woman?
Knowing the effect it had on the other people in the
Okay.
situation, that's her and their kids. I
Mhm.
never went into it trying to break up a family at all,
Okay.
and I never wanted them to have a broken family. I never wanted my son to have a broken family. So just the people that was affected by it, that hurt the most. Because I'm
Mhm.
not the type of person to want to just intentionally, granted what's been happening or what happened, I've never been that person that just wants to intentionally hurt somebody. And so
Uh-huh.
before she even found out, it was kind of like, let's stop. We should stop now before it
Mhm.
gets too deep.
Mhm.
And we
And then
just
what made
never
you
made
go
this.
back? Every time you tried to end it, what made y'all go
I
back?
We still don't have an answer to that.
Mhm.
And we thought we dug into that as well. We've done counseling, and
Mhm.
we thought it was just because of a trauma bond, because we built
Mhm.
a lot over trauma. He had
Mhm.
stuff going, I had stuff going, and we thought that's what it was, but it was a little deeper than that, because it's like, I can't heal your hurt, you can't heal my hurt. I can't heal your pain, you can't heal my pain. Yeah, we're there for each other. Yeah, we talk to each other.
And
But
so how did you justify staying with him in that relationship?
my partner now,
Yeah, at the time when he was married, how did you justify it? Knowing that,
never justify it. You would have some
already
people
been.
that would probably say, like, well, he's doing it like how I was in my first situation. Like, we spent all this time together, we doing all this and that third, and this is why he's showing me that he loved me. He's showing me that he's scared. You
Yeah.
can't justify it. Like,
Right.
it's just like something that literally just continued to happen. It became, certain things was like pattern, routine for us that we did while we were dealing with each other. Like, I think you're in the Atlanta area, so like, it was little stuff. Like, in the beginning, we would call each other at 7:00 in the morning. It was like 7:10 or 7:20 like that. Young Jock used to do a segment on the radio, the second date update.
Yeah.
Like, he was at work. I was on my way to work. And every morning, like clockwork, he was calling me. We was on the phone listening to the segment on the radio. Like, just little stuff like that. Like, it just started, routine started happening, and it became, he became like my best friend. I became like a best friend to him. Like, we just grew like a really, really strong attachment.
Yeah. And that was going to lead me into my next question. Were there moments where you felt like you were in a normal relationship?
All the time. All the time. We would go on dates, and we was going out of town, and we were kicking it. Like, you sending flowers to my job, or it's just, I just got off work, I want to see you, or I'm off today, I'm going to your job to come see you for a little while, we're gonna go do lunch. Like, it was normal stuff often.
Normal stuff. And did she ever call you throughout that time, or she just gave up?
After, no, she never reached out to me. It would be, we've had like small conversation. One day she would be like, I want us to sit down and talk, or you can do this, or come to this function and stuff like that. And then she'll retract and be like, no, I changed my mind, I don't want to be around her, I don't want to talk to her.
She was trying to accept you as the other woman.
Well, yeah,
she was okay with him having another.
No, this was after she found out. Like, after he told her, he came clean to her. During, she never knew.
Okay, so when he came clean to her, was she willing to say, okay, I'm okay if you have somebody else, because I want to be with you?
I can't tell you that. I can't answer that question. There was a couple conversations that was had that me and him discussed, where he told me certain things was said, like, oh, she could be a single mom, because from my social media, it would have looked like, I didn't have anybody, or, my son was just me and my son. And so she was like, oh, she's been a single mom, she can continue to be a single mom with this baby. Like, let's just continue to make this work. So she would say some stuff, and I guess she was going to be okay with it. But I guess eventually she was like, no, it ain't going to work. Or I don't know. I was never there, so I can never tell you.
I was just saying, based on what he may have told you. And you said that this has affected you all's trust, even amongst each other. You said it was good communication, but y'all still don't.
In the back of your mind, you probably will always have a sense of doubt, because you've heard, like I said, you heard so many times, how you get them is how you lose them. So it's like,
that's
in the beginning, I used to be like, oh, you want to go hang out? Like,
yeah.
Oh, you want to go play basketball? This is what you told her that you was going to go do when you was coming over here to go see.
Yeah.
So I was like, for a long time, it was that. It was like, what you mean? Like, huh? But eventually, I got the mindset of that, there's a such thing as karma. And if you're going to do it, no matter how much you say, what you doing, where you at, who you with, what time you coming back, or what time, if a person going to do it, they're going to do it. My grandma always told me, don't take all night. And I'm a living witness that it don't take all night. So if you want to make time to go do it, you're gonna go do it. So
right. And so do y'all have plans on getting married, or what's y'all situation like now?
We have discussed it. We've been talking about it.
Because now y'all have been on and off for like 8 years, 8 years?
We talked about that last night. That's so funny. But yeah, and we discussed it. We've been looking at rings and stuff like that, but we're just taking it a day at a time, slowly. At first we were both kind of like, I never want to get married again. I don't want to get married no more. I don't want to do it no more. I don't want no more kids. Like, we don't want to try this pregnancy thing no more. So we're open. We're open to some
You
things now.
you on birth control?
No,
You
I'm
said
not
you
on birth
didn't wanna
control.
you didn't wanna try the pregnancy thing no more.
No, I'm not on birth control. I'm not.
You just check the calendar, or you just
Yeah,
pregnant?
God got us. But yeah, I'm not on birth control. If it happens, that's the thing. If it happens, it happens. We're not trying for it to happen. If it
Okay,
happens, it happens. It happens.
okay.
Yeah.
And so how has being the other woman affected your view on relationships now?
I tell people all the time now. Just be prepared for anything. I'm never that person to go into my friendships, my friends' relationships, and be like, "Oh, girl, you think he cheating on you?" Is that a third? Or because again, the person gonna do it, they gonna do it. You have to make the best decisions for yourself. Like that's all I can tell people. Like if it feels good to you and it's something that you want to do it. Just always be prepared for the consequences that come behind it. Yeah, that's all I can tell you.
Yeah. And so what consequences that come behind it? Because sometimes people don't even know how to prepare for the consequences.
You don't. I mean, you better learn. I had to learn, but
Yeah.
it comes with a lot. You might end up in some altercations physically. You might end up in some pregnancies. You might end up. And then one thing I always like told my partner now is that we have a hell of a story. Like we have a hell of a story. Like, and we are lucky. I ain't gonna say we covered by somebody praying for us, because you have some situations out there where a woman or a man will kill over their other person, and you never know what point a person can get to. Like I never knew if this lady was gonna wake up one day, and because she used to say stuff, he would tell me like, "Oh, she was hiring a private investigator and this and the third," and I never knew this lady was gonna pull up at my job or my house and try to kill me, or if my partner at that time was gonna come try to hurt you. Like, you never know. Like, and it's just chances that you're taking on a daily basis for love, or to feel good, or something that you think is, your forever. So,
and I want to know, like, about your ex-husband. Like, does he apologize for how he treated you at this point? Or he does?
So it's always that. It's always an apology, and then 2 days later we at each other's throat again.
Really? Is it at each other's
He ain't never changed. That man ain't never gonna change. He's always been the type of person where I've gotten this way. He's 43 now, so he's always been 42. I've been this way 42 years. It got me this far. I'm good. I don't got to change. So okay.
Yeah.
So I always tell him there may be somebody out there for you that may accept you and love you the way that you are. You might be everything that she needs. That's not for me. You're not the man for me.
And so, okay, so did you ever feel judged? Like
all the time.
Okay.
All the time.
How did it affect you?
My sister has a running joke. She calls me the perfect side chick. She like, cause she calls me the perfect side chick. She be like, you've been in 2 situations, and both these men decide to leave their situations for you, and this and the third. And I'm like, that ain't nothing to brag about. Like, how many single men is out there in the world? Like,
right.
Dealing with these men in situations, that ain't nothing to brag about.
Yeah, I feel you.
So I have friends that joke kind of constantly, like, oh, that's why he probably doing such and such and such and such and such and such. And my always answer is, if he is, oh well.
Yeah. And what would they be saying that for?
Just because we would have casual conversation about, they'll see something on a movie. Like, my friend, girl, you seen this movie on Tubi? Like, girl, that thought made me think about you and him, because such and such and such and such. Like, what you think about us for? Like, we so, and that's how I know, like, a lot of people judge situations. And so, honestly, as any woman hearing this, they would be like, his family, he had a couple people in his family that did not want to be around me. And he told me one comment was made, was that, I don't want to be around her. She like married men. And it's like, oh, all right. So cool with me. Like,
I mean, how are they now? Are they still like that now, or does this family like you now?
We're grown. So if they don't like me, they ain't going to tell me they don't like me. They probably talk about it amongst themselves, but we could be cordial.
Can you sense it? Do you all go to family events together?
Yeah, we do. we're actually going on a cruise and coming up soon. And so again, they ain't never gonna tell me. I'm grown. I can talk to anybody. Like, it's plenty of people who don't like me, and I can still hold a
Right.
conversation with you like it's nothing to it, because
Yeah.
that's just me. So again, if they don't, I know a couple people who don't, but
Yeah. You're not a type of
I
person
tell
who
people this all the
gonna
time.
be.
Yeah, I tell people this all the time. I don't have a heaven and hell to put you in. When I
Yeah.
go, I don't have to answer for no sins that you've done.
Yeah.
So what you do is what you do. What you eat don't make me.
Yeah. And
So
so did you ever feel like you were compromising your moral or your ethics?
a lot of times, once I started learning who I was and what I wanted to deal with and what I didn't want to deal with, and boundaries, that was a big one. Once I started learning boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of like, dang, I settled. Like, I settled. We
Yeah.
had that conversation before too. I settled for a lot.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation too where it was like, we had the opportunity to walk away, but we never walked away. It's because we
Mm-hmm.
just familiar with each other. We just know each other so much because we've been all these years.
Mm-hmm. And so, no, I thought you was about to ask something else, but when you looked at his ex-wife at that time, and he just I want to know. I do want to know, how was his interactions with your husband?
Mm.
Like, how was that?
They've never been good. So we just keep them separate. We just keep them separate.
Had he ever like tried to confront your husband? Heard your husband confront him? And
Yeah.
how did that go?
They never go good. They never go good.
What are some examples, if you can bring us into that?
It was one example. We were already done. He came to he was, like I said, he still comes to, like, whatever. I work from home now, but when I was working out and about, we had a situation to where he was at my job one day. He was changing my headlight, and then my ex pulled up. I don't know why he pulled up. Still to this day, I will never know why he pulled up. But he saw me in my car changing my headlight.
Mm-hmm.
At this time, I was a probation officer, so I worked on government property.
Mm-hmm.
So he got out of the car. He was like, what you doing? No, like this altercation. And he wanted to, like, actually go toe to toe with this man. So it's like police officers and everybody outside my job. And they're like, do you know this is going on? They come to my office like, you know this is going on? I'm like, no, what's going on? So I go outside, and my partner now, he's not confrontational. He's not scary, but he's not confrontational, and he got some common sense. So he's not about to be out there, causing no show. And he continued to fix my light, but then my ex at the time, he was just going crazy. Like, oh, come out here in the grass. I'm about to such and such and such and such. This ain't their property over here. Blah, blah, blah. Like,
And he did all that, but did he ever try to fix anything during your marriage?
and this crazy part, my headlight was out for a while, and he knew it was out. And I would tell him, like, I got pulled over, my headlight is out, can you change it? And he would never do it. But it was like something triggered him. He didn't even know who he was at the time. Like, he knew there was somebody, but he didn't know who he was. And all he saw was somebody at my car fixing something, and it just sent him off.
And so, going back to your partner right now, I just want you to look at this question. How did you feel about the possibility of him cheating on you in the future?
It's crossed my mind, and I've always said I'll just deal with it as it comes.
And so, were you the only other woman while he was with his ex-wife?
We've had this conversation. He said yes. He said the only one he was intimate with. He said there were other conversations taking place. That trust issue thing, I went through his phone one time and I was like, let me see what's going on. Like, let me, whatever. And I looked and I didn't see anything pertaining to any other women, but I would see like other messages between him and the ex-wife and certain conversations they would have. So it's kind of like, so you still trying to really do this after you said that you wasn't trying to do this? And at the same time, it was kind of like, can I really be mad? Because at one point in time, it was the same thing. I'm trying to feel like maybe I want to try to go make something work with my husband. So it's kind of like, All
Mm-hmm.
right. I
And
can't be mad at you.
right. And so you told me a little bit about how your interactions are like with your child. Like y'all can't even meet up at the house. Y'all got to go somewhere. So how is his interactions with his children? Like how does that work?
I'm sorry. Say that again. You said
How is
his
his
kids.
interaction with his children? Like how do y'all maintain? How do him and his? Because is she still upset with you? Is she still upset with him?
Probably. We
This just
don't talk. Like, yeah, we don't have any conversation. We don't have a reason to talk.
because the children. How old are
Yeah,
his
I
children?
they're older. Like,
Okay.
they're not that much older. They're not little kids. They're not like 2, 3 years old.
Hmm.
But I see them often. We were just all together over the weekend.
Okay.
Went out of town for the weekend. I see them. I spend time with him. All of them together. As far as me and her, we don't have any. We don't really have a reason to talk about anything.
Yeah, and I was more
Um,
so saying like his interaction with like his
he's a
children.
very active dad.
Uh-huh.
He's a wonderful dad, and he do what he's supposed to do. He goes. This is the thing. I made the decision that I made, so I'm not intimidated by any other situation. So if
Hmm.
he was I had a couple of friends ask me that too, like, how do you feel about him going over there to see the kids, or how do you feel about if he decided that he want to go spend some time with them, or he got to go pick them up and she's around. It's a thing now to where we've communicated and we know what type of relationship we've built.
Hmm.
So we have a sense of respect. We have those
Hmm.
boundaries. We know how far to take certain things. We know where to go with certain things. He
Hmm.
goes to see his kids. He picks his kids up and goes spend time with them.
Hmm. And what was the biggest sacrifice that you made to be with him?
Bringing all of our kids together. So, like I said, I had a child, and all he knew was his dad. So to now have a
Okay.
whole nother partner,
Yeah.
and we're in the same house, and all of this, and
Hmm. And it
his
was
kids
worth it.
having to. Hmm?
Hmm. I'm saying it was worth it, right?
I believe so. Him
Yeah.
and my child have a really really good relationship.
Hmm.
Me and his kids, we have a relationship. It took a while for us to get this because it's like kids are sponges; they absorb everything, and so they hear a lot. And I'm pretty sure they've all heard like maybe certain arguments or certain conversations. So you can always tell when a child is like, "I want to like you, but I know I'm not
Hmm.
supposed to like you."
Yeah.
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 So we went through a lot of that for a minute, and it was like,
Right.
okay, this lady is nice. Like, I like going to her house. I like us going hanging out. We go do activities, but I ain't supposed to be enjoying this. So, but they never been disrespectful. They've never been, rude or anything. It's just kind of like you can always sense, like,
Yeah.
I want to be comfortable, but let me draw back after a while.
All right. And then just this question real quick. Looking back, what would you tell?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Nah, if that's something that you decide you want to do, be very aware of what can come with it. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
Just really, really think about it. But don't
Right.
do it. Don't
Don't
do it.
do it.
If you got patience and you got time and you got nothing else to do with your time, hey,
Right.
go for what you know
Right.
or makes you happy. But
Hmm.
I would never, if this didn't work tomorrow, if this was the end of it, I would never do it again. Ever.
Right.
I
And
would never
so
try this type of situation again.
I understand. And so this one real quick for those who have been involved in relational betrayal, either as an adulterer, the betrayed, or the other woman, what's the most critical first step toward emotional healing?
Mm. Admitting what you've done, taking accountability.
That's
You got
good.
a lot of people that's always going to say, like, well, I did it because this, or I did it because she did this, or his partner did this, or
Yeah.
this, he
He
wasn't getting
wasn't
this.
giving
And
sex or
yeah, he wasn't looking, she wasn't whatever, and he was looking for this. And we did take accountability. Like, you
hmm
have to start with yourself. You got to know who you are. And like I said, I didn't know who I was. And um my saying go is, if you'll accept anything or fall for anything or however it goes. So if you don't know what you want, you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So if you can't say, you know, I'm doing this because I'm the type of woman that just likes being with other men. I mean, other people's, men. I like, the sneaking. I like the
hmm
I can send you back home to her. If that's the type of person you are, that's what you like, go for it. Because I know many people like that. But know who you are. That's that. You just have to take accountability for the type of stuff that you like. If you just somebody who was like me, who was just looking for something, looking for a voice to feel,
and that's going
accept that.
next. How can individuals break free after they've admitted it? How can they break free?
You have to be ready to break free, because it's so easy to get trapped in that. It's like, oh, we've done it for so long, and I was that person as well. I was kind of like, oh, we've been doing it. He's all I know now. You got to know your worth. Like, you got to know and understand that you're worth something more than somebody sneaking off to.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say that because, well, yeah, but somebody sneaking off to go in the bathroom and text you. Like, you got to wait for him to, be away from his partner so that y'all can spend time together, for him to call you or this and the third. Like, you deserve more than that. Like,
right. And so I'm gonna just say this for the record. The question is, how can individuals break free from the cycle of toxic relationships and infidelity patterns that damage their emotional and mental well-being? And I think the important part of that is patterns, because you even identified how you had a pattern. And do you think that your pattern of like infidelity and stuff like that is broken, or do you
yeah, it's over with.
Okay.
It's
You don't
over
see
with.
yourself ever doing that again, and even
That's
being
what I said. If we were to not work out, and he came home today and he was to say, this ain't something that I could do no more, I don't ever see myself getting involved with somebody else who's committed to somebody else. I don't see myself hurting another woman, especially another Black woman. Like, I'm be real. Like, I didn't realize that until later on. I didn't see it that way, but I could never do that again to anybody. And then I had to self-reflect a little bit about it being done to me. I've had it done to me, and that's how my previous relationship ended. It was a situation where this girl was messing with my partner, and
you said previous. So you had another relationship before you actually got in a relationship with your current partner?
No, I'm saying my relationship that I was dealing with, where I told you, like, I was dealing with somebody for many years, and then I ended up getting with my son's dad, who I married. So I went through a really bad breakup there, and I was that person, forgiving, and I was wondering, like, how could she do this to me? Like, she knew that he was with me. Like, she knew that, like, whatever. But being on the other side of it, it was kind of like, I don't know what he told her. I don't know how he fed it to her. I don't know what he portrayed to her. So I can't say.
Yeah. And then we're almost done with the questions, but this one, what advice would you give someone who finds themselves in this situation? I know you said you would advise someone not to do it, but if they're in this situation, what's some advice you would want to give them?
I don't advise anybody to this type of situation, but if I had to give some type of, if you're in the situation, we're talking about it, get out of it.
Like, if they want to get out and they're struggling, how do they get out?
It's gonna hurt. And it's gonna hurt. Like, so I had to tell a couple of people that I know, like, you have to do the self work. Like, you have to set those boundaries. You have to know who you are and what you want. Like I said, I had to seek therapy like many days and tell my therapist, like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, I don't like this feeling. I don't like what I'm getting out of it. I don't like who it's making me become. I don't like how I'm making other people feel. I have to take accountability, and that's just what you just have to do. And again, you have some people who are just those type of people who just like that type of stuff, and that's just something they enjoy doing.
And when you say you didn't like who you were becoming, what did you notice you were becoming that you didn't like?
The other woman. I didn't like that feeling. Like I said, that whole thing of,
because it's on your conscience. It stays on your conscience
every day. So it's like, and then for a while, you have those type of thoughts, like, if he's not here with me and he is still at home, is he touching her? Are they having relations? Are they having unprotected relations? Is he telling her stuff? Like, is he feeding her ego, making her feel good like he's making me feel good? Like, you play all these thoughts play through your head. I ain't gonna say constantly, but they do.
Yeah.
And it started making me feel unsure of who I actually was.
Yeah.
And I'm already battling, at that point in time, like, who are you? What do you like? What whatever. So now I'm really struggling. Like, Is this okay? Am I supposed to accept this because this is part of the
Right.
process? This is what comes with this.
Mm-hmm. And then going to our last question: do you feel you fully healed from this experience?
Mm. Many days I feel I'm healed from it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some moments that come in and it kind of triggers you. It kind of makes you think like, could this be? But it's like, are you gonna let that affect your day to day? Like, I'm never gonna let no woman live rent free inside my head. I just can't do
Yeah.
it. Like, I'm not gonna be sitting here thinking like, what is she doing better than me for my man to want to go be over here talking to her? If that's what you want and you want him and he wants you, y'all can have each other. Like, I've learned a sense of detachment now, and I feel
Yeah.
like I had attachment issues before,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like many things are temporary.
Yes.
So
And if that's all the questions that I have for you today, but is there anything else you would like to leave us with?
don't do it. Just don't do it, y'all.
Great
Don't
advice.
do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
That's great advice. Now I want you to stay there just a moment, okay, please. I'm just going to go ahead and I thank everyone for watching. I appreciate our guests for coming on. Make sure that you all tune in next week for Conversations with Grace, but the week after, because the other woman releases every other week. As long as we're running this segment at 8:45 p.m. on Thursdays. Until next time, bye.